Welcome to HalfPint Cooking. Today we are going to be making birthday cakes. My babies are going to be turning 1. So we're gonna be making their cakes that they're gonna dig into all on their own in their high chairs, and it's gonna be so much fun. So we're just gonna be making a French vanilla cake, and what we need is a cake mix. Now there's a special way that we can make cakes. On the instructions on the back it says to add water, oil, and 3 eggs. Okay, and so I want you guys to learn how to read instructions and know how to make things. First, it says number 1. Cakes are really easy because it has numbers and it has pictures of what you're going to be needing. So first it says heat your oven to 350 degrees. So that's gonna be our first thing to do is heat the oven. Okay, so while our oven is heating, we're gonna make sure we have all of our ingredients. So it says the oil, water, oil, and eggs. But we're gonna make it a little bit special. You know when you go to the cupcake shops and the cupcakes taste so good? They're not cake mixes. Sometimes they are, but they're just richer and they're full, they're not so airy. So one of the things that people do to make them a little better is instead of adding water, like it calls for, you add milk. And you just add the same amount. It says 1 1/4 cup of water, but we're just gonna add 1 1/4 cup of milk instead. And it says 1/3 cup of vegetable oil. Instead of vegetable oil, we're gonna add some butter, and it just makes it a little more rich and delicious. We're gonna melt this, and it's better if you use unsalted butter. And then it says 3 eggs, and we're just gonna use the 3 eggs just like it calls for. Okay, do you wanna open this? Jane is our little helper today, and she's so excited for the twins' birthday. Now you can use any cake mix and do the same thing. You can add the milk and the butter instead of the water and oils. Okay, that's what it looks like. Does that look like cake?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does? Okay, so you wanna make sure you keep your instructions handy and close to you because it will still tell you how long you need to cook your cake. Now we made sure we washed our hands before we did this, which is very important. Ooh. Good job. And we're gonna clean up as we go. We're gonna throw this in the garbage. Okay, now we need milk. Do you wanna pour the milk and I'll tell you when to stop? So this is our liquid measuring cup. It's great for liquids because if you use just a regular cup, if you go all the way to the top, it might spill over. So these are really nice to use. Okay, do you wanna pour it? Okay, pour it in this little bowl. Can you do that? Okay, now put it in the bowl. Nice. We're actually gonna use this same cup to crack our eggs. We wanna crack them in a separate bowl until we get the hang of cracking eggs because we don't want shells in them because it's really hard to get the shells out of the cake mix, but it's pretty easy to get them out of a separate bowl. Okay, so how we crack an egg, do you remember? Okay, how do you do it?
Just do this and stick your thumb in.
Yeah, okay, she said you do this and you stick your thumb in. Okay, so you crack it. Okay, see how it's doing that? Now we're just gonna stick our thumb inside and break it open. Okay, now you wanna dump that in the bowl. Good. So the box called for 1/3 cup of oil, and you actually wanna do twice as much butter as you do oil. I know, crazy, right? So if you can see on my butter, it says 1/3 cup and it gives you a line where to cut it. So you just wanna do that 2 times. So I have 2 cubes of butter and we can do that. Each cube of butter is 1/2 cup, and so to try to figure out how to get 2/3 of butter, it gets a little bit confusing because the marks are a little weird. So what we're gonna do is we just have 2 cubes and we're just gonna go to the 3rd mark 2 times. Pretty easy, right? Okay, we're gonna open this and we're gonna...
I'm gonna do it.
Oh, what do you wanna do? Oh, shoot, it's gonna fall, it's gonna fall. Oh, you made it fall, good job. Okay, we're gonna put this in the microwave until it's melted. We can just squish these 2 ends of butter together and we can save it for another time. So our butter is melted and we're just gonna pour it in. Use the handle. It's so heavy. Oh. Now we're gonna use a hand mixer. This is a Cuisinart and I love it. I've had it for about 15 years and I haven't had any problems with it. Okay, so I'm gonna turn it on and we're gonna mix it for about 30 seconds. This one's really cool because it has a timer on top and so it tells me how long I've been mixing. Okay, your turn. Oh, does that look good?
Yeah, can you lick it?
Oh, one of the best parts about making cake is licking the batter. Now make sure you ask if it's okay because it does have raw egg in it and that means the egg isn't cooked and sometimes those can make you sick. So we're gonna put our batter in these little cakes and we're gonna stack them on top of each other for the birthday cake. So you need, well, because we have twins and I need to use 2 cakes, I have 4 of these right now. But the best way, sometimes cakes stick and they come out of your pan and they broke and it's so devastating and so sad because you want this beautiful cake. So a good way to make sure they come out of your pan really well is you trace the pan with a pen. So we're gonna just trace this because it's gonna be on the bottom of our pan. Did you hear that beeping? Our oven is ready, so we better get going, huh? So I need 4 of these because I'm making 4 of these cakes. Now we're just gonna cut them out. Okay, so we have our 4, these are 6-inch round cake pans. And we have 4 circles cut out. Now the next part is a little bit tricky. I have some cooking spray and I'm just gonna spray on the bottom. You don't wanna get on the sides really. Because when you get spray on the sides, then the cake, it tends to go up in the middle. But when you don't get on the sides, it stays a little more flat and it's way better. So I sprayed just the bottom of these very carefully. And now I'm going to spray just these little circles, just a little bit. And then I'm gonna dip it in flour. I'm gonna sprinkle some flour on it, just like this. And you put it on the bottom of your pan. And that one's ready. So we're gonna do that with all of these. Okay, so we have our pans ready, and now we're gonna put the batter, the cake batter, into the pans. Do you wanna do it, Jane? So move that out of the way. So you're just gonna dip. I just have a measuring cup. You can use whatever is easiest for you. And we're just gonna go until these are about halfway full. Okay, our pans are done. We got a little bit on the side, so you wanna make sure to wipe that off a little bit if you can, because those will cook a little bit faster and it might burn, and we don't like burnt food. Okay, so remember we saved the box for a reason because it tells us how long we need to cook the cakes. This does not have this size in here, so we have to use our imagination and try to figure out how long we think it needs to bake. So it says for a 9x13 pan, and that's like one of those rectangle pans. This is 2 8-inch rounds or 2 9-inch rounds, but we have 2 6-inch rounds. Okay, so the closest one we have is the 8-inch rounds, and that says 30 to 35 minutes. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with about 25 minutes. And then after that 25 minutes, we're gonna check on them. And when these are baking, you wanna be careful not to jump around or even open the oven, because if you open the oven when cake is baking, it will sink in the middle. And you want it to be a nice flat surface or even up a little bit, but you don't want it to sink down. It's okay if it does, but that's why it happens, is because we open the oven. So you don't want to open the oven. Okay, now while the cake is baking, we are going to make sure and clean up our mess. So when it comes out, everything is clean. Okay, our timer just beeped and I think it's done. We're gonna take them out. So there's a couple of tricks that you can use to know if it's done or not. One of them is the toothpick test. So what you do is you stick it in the middle, and if it comes out clean, then it's done. Pretty easy, huh? Another way that I like to know just a little bit easier is just to tap on it. And if it bounces back, then it's done. If it sinks down and you can still see your fingerprint in there, then it's not quite done. So I'm gonna take them all out now. So these are really hot and you wanna make sure maybe your mom or dad takes them out of the oven. and we're gonna put them on these cooling racks. It just helps so the air can cool it down from the top and the bottom, and it moves the air around to cool it down. We're gonna put them on here for about 5 minutes. You can see they came out nice and flat, and around the edges they're starting to peel off, but why we don't need to worry about it is because we can just get a knife and get it off that way. So we're just gonna get our knife and go around the edges like this. And it's coming out nice. Still hot, so be careful. And we're gonna use our hot pad or towel or whatever you have. We're going to flip it on top of our cooling rack. Look at that. And then we take our paper off. And it's beautiful. Look at that cake. It's nice around the edges. And now we're gonna wait for this to cool completely. So I really like cake the next day. I don't like to eat cake the day that it's ready. I think it tastes a little better, a little richer and denser if you eat it the next day. If you want to, you can even freeze these. I would cool them down completely, wrap them up in plastic, and then put them in the freezer until they're all frozen, because it makes it a little bit easier to put frosting on. But you want to make sure that it's soft before you try to eat it again. Sure. 15 to 23 minutes.
Got them on my nose.